Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel, and today in this video I'm going to walk you through what I have done so far in the expense manager application. This is kind of an overview after about 7 videos and if you go to my channel I have linked the playlist here below in the description where you can find the 7 videos where one after the other I have gone through each and every functionality. I have built that, and you should be able to find all the code in the repository. And if you follow the videos, you will see exactly how I have done that. All sorts of development, refactoring, those things are actually handled in that series. Now, I thought that those who don't want to spend so much time going through the entire series, maybe I have completed the current transaction thing, so I will show you what we have done so far. Okay, so let's go ahead and start that process. It's a Laravel application with React, TypeScript, Inertia.js starter kit. So this UI should look familiar to you. Now, in regards to the models, I have, obviously we get the user. It has a few relations. For example, it has relation for accounts. Okay, then I have transaction. The transaction model defines the individual transactions that can happen inside the application. I am treating an expense or an income both as transaction, but they are differentiated by category. So we have our next model as category. Category has a name, a type, it can be active or inactive, and a category can be of only 2 types. If you go to this definition, you will see this enum says either it's an expense or an income. Okay, now the last one is account, because any transaction, whether it is an income or an expense, should happen on an account. So we have this as well. An account can be of this types, which is, if I see, bank, cash, and credit card. Okay, so these are most of the things that I have tried to manage in the models. I have my database migrations over here. You can go through them. I have for accounts, these are the things. I have categories and I have transactions. Do note though that although in my model there are certain enums, for example type is an enum, but what I prefer to do over here is I create a string column called type. So accounts type is of type string. It is not an enum, and I'm only casting it in the model so that tomorrow if I need to add one more value, I don't need to really play around with the migration. I can just push the code and I'll get the latest thing. Okay, and I have a little bit of a seeder going on here so that whenever I refresh my migration, you will see I have one user by this name, then this, I have some bank accounts, some fake transactions and stuff. So yes, this is what I have done so that we have some data to play around with. Now if I show you my web.php, I have completed my transactions part. Okay, I'm recording on the 20th of October, and so far we have completed transactions, but we are working on the accounts. Okay, transaction, if I go into my transaction controller, let's go step by step. I have transaction query where I'm loading the transactions with these relationships. I'm sorting them by date and then by ID. I'm paginating, and then this is my index. If I go to this, I guess I can't. Oh yes. So in here, if you look at this page, right, it's a typical layout which we get with the starter kit. So we have transactions, okay, as the breadcrumb. This is my props. Then the layout is set. This is the heading. I have a button over here. So if you see this button, add expense, is managed over here. On click of that button, I am taking the user to the create page. Then we have the table over here. If I go to the table, Now I have a separate table folder, and I have all those tables. For example, you can see I have accounts table as well, and I just realized that this is wrong, so I'll have to refactor that. I'll do that on my live. This is just a walkthrough. Okay, so I have this is the shared CN table component. I have these things. I have the ID, date, description, category, amount, account, sorry, an amount, and then I am printing everything which is in the table, and that's how I get this. Then if you see over here on the table row, I have an on click, and I'm doing a router visit show transaction ID, which means I can click over here and go to the show page, which is this. Now in here, what I have also ensured is that the show page gets the, first of all, accounts, categories, because the show page will need these drop downs. These are shared CN drop downs. This is the date picker. It's a number column, a number text field. This is a text field, okay, as an input. Now the show, the structure is kind of similar. I have my breadcrumb. Where is the breadcrumb? This is the breadcrumb. You can see it over here. Okay, then I go to the drop downs being created. These are the props that I'm expecting: an array of account drop down, array of category drop down, transaction, okay, because this is an individual transaction. These are passed as props, okay, and I have a form. Now this form takes accounts, categories, and transaction. And then same, if you see the create, it takes the same form. So what I have done is I have ensured that the create and edit use the same form, so the code duplication doesn't happen. And what we have done is, if the transaction ID is not defined, then it's create, or else it is edit. Okay, so this is the condition. Then we have the inertia form that we have created. These are populated if we have the data. So what happens is, in the transaction controller, you see the transaction here is available in the show, but if I look at the create, which is a little over here, it's new transaction, so it's an empty model. So what happens over here is, if the value is present, like account ID, it populates that, otherwise it is empty. Category ID, same, amount, date, description. And then again, in the handle submit, if it is an edit, then I do a put, else I do a post. So this is where the create is happening, and this is where the update is happening, and this is my form. And also I have my handle delete, so we have a delete thing as well. And if you see, I can create a transaction. So for example, right now I can do anything actually. I can select this, I can select this. By the way, I have validation messages as well, so if your balance is not enough, it will complain. So for example, if I do it like this, it just does say that you have insufficient balance. Now if I do 10, if I hit save, okay, it's over here. Now let me open up my database in SQLite. I'll show you that we have handled another case as well. So HDFC on 70. Now if I edit this and if I make it access, I hit save. Okay, now access was on 19,830, and this is 70, 19,820, because now 10 got deducted from here and 70 becomes 80. So how did that happen? During the edit, we have handled those cases, and I'll show you. That is the next thing that we have done, which is, after the show, we have update. In update, we have update transaction request. Here, what we are doing is, first of all, this authorize that if the transaction user ID is not the auth user ID, then we don't allow it. Then we have these basic validations in place. I'm not checking for exist here, because what I'm doing is after this basic validations, I'm using the hook with validator. In the with validator, I'm taking the data, taking the transaction, loading all the models, and I'm validating first that if the account doesn't exist, then I do this. These are edge cases, but generally you will only hit these kind of errors if someone is kind of manipulating the post data and doing this. The form ideally should not show that. Now we take the old amount and the new amount, and during the edit we have some edge cases. For example, if the new account ID is equal to old account ID, then it means we are dealing with the same account and it's just an edit. If it is different, then we have a different method. So validate same account. What do we do over here? We check the difference and we check whether the balance is there or not. Okay, but if it is different account, then we again check whether there is enough difference but the message is different. Okay, because we will have to say that the new account doesn't have that balance. Okay, when the accounts are same, we are saying insufficient balanced for increased amount. Okay, these are the difference, the nuance that I'm trying to create over here. So once that validation is done, we get we are using context here to get the old account, new account, old category, new category, and old amount. These I have put it in the context because I made those queries inside the validator, the request class, and I was not able to get them in here as data, so I have shared that through context. Okay, and then we have an action. So the action is injected over here, update transaction action. We should look at this as well. So what happens is we first check if the account has changed. If it has changed, so if it has on the same account, then we first increment the old balance. Why? So let's say you had 10, okay, and you want to change it to 8. So what I'm doing is I'm first incrementing it by 10, which is the old amount, and then I'm decrementing it by new amount. Okay, I didn't do a difference. I felt this is fine. And if it is a different account, then I am incrementing the old account with the old amount. Okay, this is critical. So if again it is a 10 rupee transaction on account A and I'm updating it to B, so what I will do is I will first give 10 back to A and then I will reduce the amount from B. Okay, that's how things needs to work. So that's what we have covered over here. I do all these things, action is executed, and we have updated. The create is pretty similar. This is the page and the form is rendered. Store transaction, again I have some basic validations and then the hook to check for the balances and stuff, because I'm showing validation errors instead of exceptions. I feel that is a much better option. So I get the validated data, I get the category and account as context, and I do execute and this. Okay, this is the drop down data that I'm populating because my create page and the show or update page needed the drop down data. Okay, and yeah, that's pretty much how we have done the transaction add edit thing. I think one thing I forgot to show you is the delete or destroy. So in the destroy, again I load the transaction along with the account and category. If it's not from the same user, we obviously don't allow these transaction. And if the transaction is an income, okay, now this is an edge case that if I'm deleting a transaction which was originally an income, then it means that I'll need to check whether I have enough balance, because if the income was 100 and let's say I made an expense now of 10, so my current balance is 90. Now if I am deleting an income of 100, that means I'll have to take back 100 from that account, and if the balance is 90, then how do I allow that, right? So I have stopped it over here saying about insufficient funds, because this kind of situation should not happen. This is not even a validation. And once we have done that, and in the transaction, if it's an expense, I increment. If it's an income, I decrement, and then I delete the transaction. Okay, so this is how I have right now taken care of this entire transaction functionality. I'm working on the accounts, which I will complete in my live, and then maybe I'll do a walkthrough of the code as well. You can go to this code base and you can look at the entire code, and it is up there, so you can use it. You can suggest changes and stuff as well. But yeah, that's about it, guys. That's what I wanted to cover in this video. So if you like this video, then do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel.